Hey everybody, I'm Tim Sciascia, the brand ambassador at Berkeley Yeast. I'm here with a bunch of friends today. That's because we are brewing a collab, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hey there, I am Wayne Wisenhunt. I'm the owner and brewer at Wondrous Brewing Co in Emeryville, California.
Amy Heller, founder brewer, Shred Beer Company.
Zach Frazier, founder brewer, Shred Beer Company.
Hell yeah. Nice. So, I'm brewing with these guys. We're doing a really cool West Coast IPA and cold IPA at the respective breweries. We are brewing the cold IPA at Wondrous, and with that, we are using our fresh ANDECHS yeast. And at Shred, we are brewing the exact same recipe, but we're switching out the yeast and using the fresh Chico yeast. But before we talk about the collab, I want to talk a little bit about West Coast IPA, because I don't know about you, but I really love where West Coast IPA has been going. There's just a lot of ingenuity in it right now. So yeah, Amy, what's getting you excited about West Coast IPA?
My favorite thing about them is the expression of hop flavor and aroma, rather than malt and high bitterness. And they're just so enjoyable to drink.
Yeah, it seems like the drinkability is just through the roof right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so when you're thinking about West Coast IPA, I don't know, give me an idea of how you design it a little bit.
Yeah, so here at Shred, we really like using Pilsner malt as our only malt, actually, most of the time. We're really big fans of adding New Zealand hops with some American hops. We think that works really well. And just attenuation, getting them pretty dry.
Seems like Pilsner malt is kind of becoming the de facto base malt for these beers. And, Wynn at Wondrous, you guys are known for making a bunch of awesome classic style lagers, but also your own takes on lagers. But then you go in there and there's a ton of West Coast IPA or West Coast Pale Ale, West Coast Double IPA. In this recipe, we're using as the grist 100% Wyerman Premium Pale, Extra Pale Pills. You brought that to the table. What do you love about that malt?
Well, we, when we're brewing a lot of delicate style lagers at Wondrous, any little change or variation in the malt is, kind of magnifies in a way. So we were always trying to shoot for kind of the cleanest, lightest, leanest malt we could find. And after kind of some trials and tribulations of, different, continental malt, European malt, we really found that that extra pale, the premium kind of lends just an even lighter hand than even some other maltsters, normal Pilsner malt. So we just adapted that as, the main malt in our flagship Helles beer, and then we kind of just ordered that in quantity and kind of used that for everything else, kind of logistically it makes sense in our brewery. And I just personally love the flavor, and it's awesome that Zach and Amy at Shred, they use a lot of it here as well. So it's kind of a rad kind of melding of the minds of we both love this malt. We both think it's great for hop expression and letting the hops do their thing. So it just kind of seemed to be our perfect little clean lager IPA all around malt. That helps it, let the hop shine.
Do you guys use Wyerman Pills a lot, or do you do some continental, do you do American or North American Pilsners at all?
We use a few different Pilsner malts. We probably default to the Wyerman EPP the most for our West Coast program. We do Gambrinus is another nice one. Super lean, super dry, almost attenuates more than any other Pilsner malt that we see. And then we do use some Great Western Superior too. That's in Shred IPA, actually, our core flagship IPA. Maybe a little bit more rounder character to it, but still, with our program, the way that we brew, mash, and ferment beer, attenuation is super high all around. But I feel between all of the malts, our mini PP is kind of our auto-tuned malt if we're putting a recipe together to let the hops shine through and pop.
So West Coast IPA, dextrose and no dextrose?
Single IPA, not typically, but not against it. A lot of other great brews use some dextrose and single, and they rip. Double IPA, most of the time. Yeah. Keep it baggered.
No leaner and dry.
Yeah.
you just won gold at the World Beer Cup in 2025 for that beer, West Coast Session IPA. Man, when I think about Session IPA, it is so hard to make a beer of that size and low ABV that's not totally overwhelmed by hops. Like keep it in balance.
Sure.
What are you doing on like brew day through the cellar to like make that the best Session IPA in the world?
Surprisingly, it's not a whole lot different than our regular West Coast IPAs. There's this misconception, I think, with low gravity beers that you want to feed a lot of body into it so it's not thin and watery, which it seemed to be like a process that people were doing a while ago, but also people were using a lot of crystal malt back then too, and trying to find some kind of like harmonious balance. With that beer though, it's 100% Pilsner based beer. We mash that beer at like 149. It attenuates super dry. I think the key with that beer is we don't over hop it. It's not super aggressive. So in terms of the bitterness or IBUs, so on paper that's like more of like a 40 IBU, 45 IBU beer. It's dry hopped like a double IPA though. So it's like we make it hoppy, don't make it bitter. So it's all the hop flavor and aroma you want. But on paper and spec, it's nothing different than our regular West Coast IPA program. I've talked to a lot of people that they're like, we're adding like maltodextrin to this still, and we got carafoam in there, we're mashing at like 158, and I'm like, no, you're going in like maybe the wrong direction of what we're trying to do. So
That's like how I used to make pale ale.
Totally.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
pale ale, but Session
Yeah.
IPA should be more like West Coast.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know, and it's kind of like splitting hairs to some degree because that was the same theory I had with pale ale too. Like give it a little more body, maybe throw, like even a little crystal malt or like some Vienna or some kind of like, or like it's a two-row base and not a Pils base, and you're trying to like engineer the beer to be round. But for that beer anyway, it's a no frills regimen of like Pilsner malt and mash it low and get it dry. And then just hop it maybe a little more elegant and not as aggressive as like our other West Coast IPAs, but dry hop the shit out of it still.
That's interesting. Yeah, like a beer again that small with that much dry hop, I would think would just be overwhelmed on the palate. But like
Sure.
backing off on the BUs
40,
gives
45.
more wiggle room there.
I think so, and maybe the hop varieties too. So it's like Mosaic, Simcoe, hot side. We're like low cocaine on hops, and it's like nice and soft, and it's all like late kettle only. And then it's Mosaic, Simcoe, Nelson split 3 ways to dry hops. So I think just the hops that we select: Mosaic, Simcoe, YCH. Freestyle Nelson, we have like these perceptions of what we're looking for with each of those varieties, and man, those hops just come together like butt cheeks, dude. I don't know what to say.
Well, there is one unfortunate part about that. It's not on tap right now.
Oh man, oh no.
I really want to try it, but next several
Next time.
Once again, we are brewing cool-headed at Wondrous and hop-headed at Shred. These beers are hopped with Columbus Crow, Crush Crow, Nelson, and Peacherine. And then we're fermenting with the 2 different fresh strains. When you've never used our yeast before, tell me what you're interested in discovering about the fresh ANDECHS.
Many things. I am excited about the the low diacetyl feature of this yeast. We've never brewed with a yeast that has that before, and with us doing a lot of lagers, a lot of tank time, colder temperatures, diacetyl is a very real thing in our brewery that we need to think about all the time. With a lot of our normal IPAs and a lot of our production is just lager yeast. So if this ANDECHS, great brewery in Bavaria, love it, love their beers. So ANDECHS, the yeast itself, I'm excited to use a nice kind of full, I hear it kind of plays well, great hoppiness. And just excited to kind of see how, not like necessarily how fast we can push it out more, but just, how it kind of intertwines with our processes, and just overall excited not to worry about the diacetyl as much.
Yeah, like hop creep. And
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially, lager yeast, and we're doing these big dry hops, so, we're keeping, a laser eye on, diacetyl formation after the dry hop and cleaning it up, and, sometimes taking, like, the temperature of the lager tank up to, some places that we don't really want to go, just to kind of have that peace of mind of cleaning it up, but knowing that we can use the fresh ANDECHS maybe at lower temperatures to kind of keep things clean is a great peace of mind, and, just excited to see how it rolls out.
Yeah, I was like thinking about you using fresh ANDECHS for the first time, and just thinking about diacetyl and hop creep and all these things, and I was just reminiscing in a terrible way about when hop creep kind of like popped up for the first time. And I don't know what year it was, like maybe 2016, 2017, felt like years, but it was probably like a year that this whole thing kind of like rose up without a name. And I remember like that cellar maker, and like we recalled like a couple of batches, like we didn't know what was happening. Like we weren't really doing great diacetyl tests, we weren't very skilled at it. And so we're letting out these beers, and like then 2 weeks later we'd hear that there's some diacetyl, and it's just like it's the most frustrating, terrible time. And so like did you guys deal with it in the way, like did you have some sad moments like I did ever, or were you guys lucky enough to escape that?
Oh, totally, man. Like, so at my former breweries, there was a time when I was at a brewery in 2017, 2018, it started to like kind of come to the surface more. I'm like, what's going on with this, like this character in our beers? Like, I'm not really sure why we're getting diacetyl. And then like stomping down VDK over and over and over again, and like these beers not passing like after like 15 days on the dry hops. And I'm like, this isn't like lucrative to production brewing in any way possible. And so there's like that window of leaving that brewery and starting another brewery. And it was like, I could have cried, man. Like, I just felt like I couldn't make hoppy beer anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, I just was so shut down and let down by trying to do these VDKs over and over and over again, and not being able to produce what I thought was a clean hoppy beer. And then, for us at the time, I got turned on to ALDC. It was Julian Schrago, actually. I think I called him and was having like a pretty sad conversation, and he was like, hey man, like, try this stuff out, and here's our process doing it, see how it goes. And we did it. It was like this ceremony of like excellence, man. I was like, oh, I'm back on the horse again, I can make hoppy beer again, but there's a nice time of leaving a brewery and commissioning a new brewery where it was so much of a shutdown. And it wasn't every beer too. It was like this wave, based off hop varieties and or attenuation with beer. And so yeah.
ALDC was such a you said game changer, I think. Like man, we were dumping like 20 milliliters per barrel into the tank to just make sure that it was, because it was like I didn't know how much to use at first, and so I was just like, put it all in, And I was like, we're not ever recalling a batch. Like, this is never going to pop up again. And like, of course, we work it back from there. But man, that's when like Berkeley Yeast entered my life, and like started using the low diacetyl strains, and like that was just such, I don't know, the headaches were gone in a way. You've used Fresh Chico for almost 2 years now, I think.
Sure.
What are you guys' experience with it, and like, what do you love it?
We absolutely love it. When we are ready to dump and crash a tank, it always passes BDK. No worries. And for us too, we're still a business. It saves us a lot of money by not having to buy ALDC and add it every time we're pitch roast.
Absolutely. And even in the cellar, like with our SOPs, we brink prep everything for, let's say, like a fresh pitch yeast, or even if we're going to break yeast the day of, if it's not break before. But like what's kind of rad is what I used to do a lot at another brewery was I did like cone to cone, and like I'm like, oh, we can do like cone to cone again because I don't have to think about prepping the brink with ALDC, because I'd always pitch the yeast and then pull wort back in, and then open the top and put ALDC in, and then shoot it back to the brink with wort and cycle it back and forth. But I'm like, if we have yeast that's already, you know, been ripped for us and not have to worry about diacetyl, I'm rocking some Kona batches, and that just saves like a lot of time. Yeah, so I mean, it's just, I mean, all around, like financially, industrial wise, like it's just a more viable option for us than having to add something, you know.
Totally.
So,
Love that. Cool. Well, that's it for us. I want to thank Win from Wondrous Brewing and Amy and Zach from Shred Beer Co. Thanks you guys for coming along and doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm sure people are like stoked to hear from you guys and hear about brewing West Coast IPA. The collabs will be out soon, and if you want to see the recipe to those beers, I'm going to put a link to them in the description, and you can find out how to make awesome cold IPA, West Coast IPA as well. Thanks, Steve.
cheers guys.